"I've been looking forward to this all week," exclaimed a white woman I didn't know as she grabbed an empty seat next to me in the conference room. I smiled and introduced myself as I closed my Palm Pilot. Honestly, it might have been an old school day planner. It was the late 1990s, and I was in the first decade of my professional career with a large Fortune 200 company. A virtual stranger, she spent the next few minutes before the diversity workshop officially began bragging about her black friend in college, the fact that she insisted that her daughter invite at least one black classmate to her birthday party, and her love of Benson reruns. To round out her racial resume, over the course of the workshop she casually dropped references to extended family members of color, her Asian dentist, and her parents' participation in civil rights protests in the 60s. I couldn't help but wish I had a gold medal in my purse to present to her, as she clearly seemed to crave some sort of validation, if not kudos, ostensibly for being a good, non-racist white person. Instead, I smiled, nodded, and hoped for an early dismissal. While the experience felt a bit frustrating and draining, it was anything but surprising. Over the years I've become quite accustomed to white colleagues, or random strangers for that matter, nervously rattling off their racial resume anytime the topic of race or racism is raised in their vicinity. I first heard the specific term, racial resume, during a podcast featuring Resmaa Menakem, author of the New York Times bestseller My Grandmother's Hands, Racialized Trauma and the Pathway to Mending Our Hearts and Bodies, and it resonated with me immediately. Author of the New York Times bestseller Nice Racism, How Progressive White People Perpetuate Racial Harm, DiAngelo calls the practice credentialing. As a workplace anti-racism thought leader and a black woman who has worked in and around corporate America for nearly 3 decades, I call it unnecessary at best and counterproductive at worst. Similarly, many anti-racism advocates and diversity and inclusion experts caution against excessive credentialing. CEO and founder, the Antiracism Academy, Brandee Blocker Anderson explains, "White colleagues, your racial resume is not a badge of honor, nor does it insulate you from internalizing and perpetuating racism." For would-be allies in pursuit of authentic engagement, equity consultant Tara Jaye Frank warns against trying too hard to relate. Resist the urge to share your own hardship stories and don't float irrelevant facts about the black people you know, she explains. It's okay to listen, learn, ask what genuine support looks like, and respond accordingly. Theresa M. Robinson, author of Blaxhaustion, Karens and Other Threats to Black Lives and Well-Being, warns white people that rattling off their racial resume can send the message that they're making it about them.